What if I told you that I found the ultimate digital nomad destination? Well, this is Budapest, and after 2 months of staying here, I'm ready to talk about my honest experience. Stick around for city vibes, amazing architecture, and why this city specifically is so convenient for digital nomads. So let's dive right in and tell you more about why I'm actually very sad to be leaving this city behind. First, let's talk about the city itself and the architecture, because Budapest is such an amazing vibe and the architecture is to die for here. Think about stunning places like Buda Castle and of course the Parliament building, where we're actually standing right in front of now. Wondering what the vibe is of Budapest? I would say very lively, and I mean, walking around the city is an absolute blast because you're just graced with all of this beauty of the buildings that you'll find here. I would say it's a photographer's dream, and as a digital nomad, it just really keeps me inspired to be doing my daily walks in a stunning city like Budapest. Let's go over a bit of culture, because Budapest is soaked in history, with some incredible ruins to the thermal baths and of course history tales that dates back to over hundreds of years. The thermal baths are a must, blending relaxation with heritage, and as a nomad, diving into this past gave me a deeper connection to the city. I found it quite easy to dive into the culture and history of Budapest and Hungary itself, also because of all the museums, tours, but also just something as simple as restaurants playing traditional music. Of course, all throughout the city you will find Hungarian restaurants offering some amazing dishes like goulash or langos. Both are definitely a must try when visiting. Besides that, I've experienced that the culture of Budapest is rich and has a diverse culture shaped by different European influences. And something that was also really nice is that you find a lot of places where you can enjoy different art forms like music or theaters, which was an amazing experience for me and also one of my very first, so it's also a great memory for later. I would say that Budapest or Hungary overall is the perfect city for anyone looking for a place with a lot of history dating back quite a few years, but also a city where you can enjoy art, music, and a lot of great food. Traveling is all about adventure, but sometimes it's also nice to just arrive in a city that is really convenient. And that is exactly what Budapest has been for me this last couple of months. I mean, as example, right now I'm working from a coffee shop with a refreshing drink, and it's just super easy because there are actually so many options here in Budapest, making it a perfect city if you're working online like me. But also when looking at things important for me as gyms, you have so many different gym options, also really affordable with convenient opening hours. Besides that, you will literally find supermarkets everywhere, from larger chains to also small stores that have a variety of opening hours as well and a variety of products. Since I'm back to cooking every day, it's really nice to have good supermarkets, and really for Budapest itself, grocery shopping was actually even more fun than that it was a bother. However, if you don't have time for cooking or you want to have a nice dinner or lunch outside of your apartment, there are a lot of different restaurant options here in Budapest, of course ranging from local Hungarian cuisines like goulash or langos to also international cuisines like Italian, or even one of my favorite kitchens, Thai food. Another thing that makes Budapest a really convenient city is of course the public transportation system. I already talked about it in a previous video, but I need to say it's just so easy to navigate, and you also have a lot of different options. A must-have is definitely the Budapest Go app to download and buy any of your tickets that you will need, or even a monthly travel pass, which is super easy and convenient if you're staying for a longer period of time. However, getting around in Budapest has not only been easy but also a lot of fun, as you get to be able to travel to different cities like Szentendre. Szentendre is a small town just a bit outside of Budapest. I would say with a car it takes around 30 minutes and with the train around 40. You can just take one specific train here from the city center, and it was an absolutely blast visiting this small village. We went there around a week ago when filming this, and it was just so much fun to explore a bit outside of the big city and see a different side of Hungary. So if you're in Budapest and you have the time, then I would definitely advise to hop on the train and explore outside of the city as well. All by all, staying in Budapest has been digital nomad life on easy mode. If you're looking for a great city, maybe even for your first location, or you just want to do a little bit less hassle, then definitely come to Budapest, as it's just such an easy city to navigate. And while we already talked about Santander and visiting other cities, let's talk about some different activities that are definitely a must-try here in Budapest, and that I'm so happy and grateful that I got to experience while visiting here. Talk about activities, because when deciding on a new destination, one thing that I always want to make sure is that there is a variety of fun things to see and explore in a city. Because when looking at myself, one of the reasons that I became a digital nomad is to travel and explore new cities and countries. So making sure that there is a variety of things to do is always a high priority for me. However, luckily Budapest has an endless list of fun things to do, so I'm going to try to keep this a bit short, but here are some of my favorite things that I did or saw in Budapest. Starting off with one of the highlights is something that we actually just did recently last week, and that was visiting a shooting range. You will find different shooting ranges here in Budapest, and we chose the biggest package, and it was such a fun experience and fun thing to do, definitely together with my boyfriend. And yeah, overall it was just a very fun memory to do together. So if you're into a bit of an adrenaline activity, I would for sure check out a shooting range. Then of course, something else in Budapest is there is a lot of history. We already talked a bit about it with the culture segment of this video, but it also means that you can visit so many beautiful architecture buildings or museums or exhibitions. Of course, there are a lot of options for tours, guided tours, and checking out all those interesting buildings and learning more about the history of the city and all the things that happened here in Budapest or Hungary or surrounding this area. I personally think it really creates a connection with the city. So that is also something that I try to do in every city that we visit, but we definitely succeeded here in Budapest. The past 2 weeks we had this hot weather here in Budapest, I would say around 30 degrees on a daily basis. And although Budapest might not be located near a beach or on the beach, you will definitely find a lot of different options to cool down. So Budapest will also be the perfect city in every season. Actually, if you're visiting during summertime or visiting during spring when everything is nice in bloom, or maybe even during autumn or winter when you will find amazing Christmas market. And it might sound crazy with all of these things to do here in the city, but the most fun part of these 2 months has just been walking around the city. It's crazy because it's free, it's easy, but it's really been the most fun thing that we did while staying here in Budapest, just because the city has such a nice vibe. I really love when you can just walk around, and you can even walk like the same route like 10 times and still be amazed by the beauty of the city. For example, we hiked to the Fisherman Bastion different times or to the Buddha Castle grounds, and each time I'm just mesmerized by the city itself and the architecture. So even when you don't want to spend any money, I would just say Budapest is the perfect city, as you can just explore and relax while walking around the city itself. Of course, Budapest has a lot more to offer of experiences and things to see and do than what we talked about so far. I also made a previous video where I showed 9 of the best free things and activities that you can explore. So if you want to go more in depth of things, definitely check out this video after this one. However, I'm going to leave my list and recommendations with this for now, because otherwise we'll be sitting here for way longer. And I also need to pack my suitcase for the next destination. And let's talk about my final verdict of staying here in Budapest as a digital nomad. So here we are, the final few moments or days in Budapest after 2 amazing months. It's time to start packing and grab my suitcase. It's been crazy and it's been such a wild ride staying in this amazing city, and just to get experience this new country and to take all these new memories along to my next destination. So here it is. But first I'm going to give you my final verdict about my stay in Budapest, and of course if I would come back as a digital nomad and stay here again. First, let's answer that question, would I come back to Budapest? And that is for sure a yes. I absolutely adored my time here in the city. It has been such a surprising experience because when we decided on traveling to Budapest, because we were first in Athens, I wasn't really up to date on what to expect in the city. It wasn't like on my original list of places that I wanted to visit. So I was going with like a completely open mind to Hungary and to Budapest. But to say that I was blown away in like my first 2 days is like even a downgrade of what it actually was. And also, it was actually our plan to just stay 1 month here in Budapest, and just after 3 days we already extended our stay with another month. And first of all, I'm super grateful and thankful that I even got to be able to extend our stay and to stay here a month longer. But in the end, I'm so happy that we did, because 1 month just wasn't long enough to experience Budapest in full. And even now, after 2 full months here, I can still say that there's so much more to explore, so much more to see, that coming back to Budapest is a no-brainer for me. And you might be wondering, like, okay, but what specifically made this experience so much better than maybe other destinations? And I think it's just the overall city. It's clean, I felt safe, also walking around in the evenings. The people are so extremely friendly. We visited during the summer, so the weather was nice, but also I can already imagine like the vibes during Christmas. That would be so wonderful as well. We already talked about it actually, to maybe sometime in the future visit during Christmas to experience the city in a new way. But it just overall, everything is amazing, which makes again the overall experience so nice, and also why it's so high on my list now, because it's definitely climbed up my list of favorite destinations in the whole world. And that is not something to take lightly, because in the last year we actually visited quite a few destinations, and I can definitely say that Budapest is in, I think, my top 3. Yeah, for sure. It is in my new top 3. And if you're a digital nomad and you're considering going to Budapest, I would highly advise to do it. Check it out, take your time, find a nice accommodation, and definitely come. And during this video we already talked about all of the reasons why I personally really liked it. So I hoped that this video also gave you a bit of insights and some things to think about if you're considering on checking out Budapest yourself. And with that being said, I think I couldn't be more positive about my experience. The time has really come to start packing this big boy. It's time to leave to a new destination, one that I'm once again very excited about, a new country, a new city, and that is Brașov in Romania. But of course I will be sharing a lot more about that on my YouTube channel, so if you don't want to miss anything of all the upcoming videos, then definitely consider to subscribe. I would be so thankful. And overall, just thank you so much for watching, for joining me along the last 2 months in Budapest, or maybe even from Athens, or maybe even from Southeast Asia or the Netherlands. I'm super grateful. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you once again. I hope to see you at the next one. Bye.